the role of the teacher in creating role models. Once again, making my pardon to you all because I cannot unmute my mic at the beginning. On behalf of all of you, on behalf of the Radiosai Seva organization South Zone, I request Professor Sanjay Sahni sir to address us on the theme, the role of teacher in creating role models. Thank you. Jai Sairam, Professor Sanjay Sahni sir.
Offering my loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Am I audible to all on the...
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So we offer our salutations to the teacher of all teachers, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and my heartfelt greetings on the eve of Deepavali to all the participants in today's session, which is very dear to Bhagwan. That is, how do we create role models for the society? I remember many years ago, we were in Kodaikanal with Bhagwan. Students and teachers who had accompanied him to Kodaikanal were sitting at his lotus feet. And he asked this question: why do I give you this opportunity to be with me? Is it because you have, or your parents have a lot of wealth? Is it because you are very handsome? Is it because you all are very intelligent? And then he himself answered the question. He said, all the time, my vision is focused on Loka Kalyanam. That is why I give you this opportunity. If you all become good, the whole world will stand to gain. So Bhagwan has been an inspiration. He has been the beacon for the teaching community. And permit me to share some of my thoughts, taking the example of our own university and the experiments we have made. The whole Sathya Sai system of education on this particular issue of molding students in the path that Bhagwan has shown all of us. Just give me a second. I would like to share my... So is my slideshow visible?
Yes, sir.
Are my slides visible? Yes. So this is a sequel to what we discussed in the previous session. The previous session was on the theme teachers as role models. And today we are talking of role of teachers in creating role models. Now, our task is in a particular context, and the context is the environment in which students are growing up. See, at different points of time, society has different priorities in terms of what it gives importance to. But Bhagwan has emphasized that the end of education is character. Now, we cannot be isolated from society. Many people feel that in today's world, wealth is power. And the way our education system is designed at a very young age, students are given the focus that why we have to educate ourselves because you will be able to earn a lot of money in future. And that was not the emphasis, at least as far as in Sai's educational philosophy. And this is very important for us as teachers to recognize. I'm not saying that education should not prepare students for a living, but education is not merely designed to prepare students for a living, it is to prepare them for life and to lead a meaningful life which will be beneficial to people in the society, in the country, and in the world. And this is very, very crucial. I just want to share one little anecdote without getting into details. This particular incident happened not too long ago. It was one of our prime ministers. He was very keen on a particular deal with a country. And generally, as is the case, there is a lot of background work, homework, which has to be done before a deal is agreed upon between the two nations. So the Prime Minister had appointed a professor in one of our top educational institutions, and he in turn hired a bunch of bright young minds from one of the top B schools of India. So they were supposed to go to the foreign country, they were supposed to meet people and prepare a case of how should our country negotiate the deal, what should be the discussion points, what is our country's interest, what is the foreign country's interest. All this had to be done as a homework. One day, the Prime Minister calls this professor and he gives him an instruction: please terminate with immediate effect this youngster in your team. And the professor felt that he must defend his team members. So he was trying to say that, this person is very valuable, he's very intelligent, he's making a very wonderful contribution. But then the Prime Minister lost his patience. He said, this fellow has all the work that you have done. He has already sold it for a price to the opposite party. So then the professor understood that this is something which is not acceptable. And but because the youngster, given his age, should be educated, the professor felt it was his duty to call him and advise him for life. So he called him and then he explained, and the youngster accepted what he had done. And the professor tried to explain, see, this is not how it should be. There is what is called as national interest, and we are working for our country. And it was a very prestigious assignment. And then what the youngster said is something, in the field of education, we have to be concerned about. He said, what the heck is the country? I want my money. So when everyone keeps telling money, 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 what happens is it gets drilled into the mind of the youngsters, and they start believing in this dictum that wealth is everything. But society is evolving, and today people realize that just having money or wealth is not enough, and knowledge is power. And so, in the pursuit of knowledge, even if it is secular knowledge, so much of competitive spirit is now there all over the world. And so much of attention is being given to the uh, research, development, and how it will be useful in various domains in the society. But Bhagwan Baba always emphasized that it is neither wealth nor knowledge. He always said, character is power. And this is something which we have to keep in mind, because today's session is essentially drawing from our experience. Two of our campuses in the university today are 50 plus years. So much of experimentation was done on the educational philosophy of Bhagwan and how it helps to mold the younger generation so that they can find meaning in their own lives and they can be a blessing to the communities wherever they go to. So, my current session's focus is going to be on character. Now, what is character? Character, Bhagwan defined it in one sentence. He said, character is sense control. We'll have a lot of time to talk about this. So let us go to the next subtopic, which is how many types of character are there? There are two types of characters. One is individual character and the other is national character. And there are three components which Bhagwan says constitutes individual character. Character at the individual level is a reflection of purity, patience, and perseverance. So, how pure an individual's mind is, that will reflect in his clarity of thinking and his decisiveness, his ability to put the societal interest over his personal interest. All these are manifestations of purity, simple living, and high thinking. This will be the characteristic, dominant feature of someone who has got purity of mind, which is the first component of individual character. And the second is patience. See, many a time we put a lot of effort, but we don't achieve our goals because we are not patient enough. For example, you take the UPI success story that is showcased by our Prime Minister whenever foreign heads of state come. Even recently, the Spanish head of state, he made a purchase using UPI. So if you go to the story of UPI, how it originated by the professors and scholars at IIT Madras, there were so many obstacles, but yet they did not give up hope and they waited patiently. And then when the environment became conducive, finally, it became a great success story, which today we are showcasing to the whole world. So therefore, patience is required and one must have determination. And that is what is perseverance. So purity, patience, perseverance, these are the characteristic features of individual character. But Bhagwan always said that individual character is not sufficient. We need to foster national character as well. And he would very fondly recall how during India's freedom struggle, there were so many citizens of our country, even lay people, not necessarily leaders, who reflected that national character and the love for the motherland and the passion for bringing good name for the country and to achieve so many things in different domains. So that kind of national character is what needs to be fostered in every student, even from a young age. Now, how do we build character? So this is a very famous saying. Bhagwan also would often refer to it. Sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a tendency. Sow a tendency, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap your destiny. So there is a whole sequence. If our destiny is defined tomorrow, it is because of our character, and the character has been built over a period of time, and the foundation is the thought. So we have to work at the thought level, at the level of actions, tendencies, habits, and this is very, very crucial because every step in the process of molding character is very, very critical for the teaching community. This was a message which Bhagwan gave to school students in a discourse in Madagashira, Andhra Pradesh. He was speaking to them on 25th of November 1959. He says, your destiny does not depend on examination marks. Generally, students, they think marks are everything. Bhagwan would often say, even if you don't get marks, you should not get remarks. So, what does our destiny depend on? He says it depends more on your character, your willpower, and the grace of God. So, this is how destinies are defined. Now, I come to the main part of our discussion, which is how do we build character? Because if they don't have character, they will not be able to be role models. Now, just because the emphasis is on character building, I must say that it's not as if professional competence is not important. See, there are two lasting legacies any society can give to its young people. One is dreams, and the other is roots. The ability to dream big, to think that, the sky is not your limit and there's nothing which you cannot achieve. That is something which every child is capable of. Dr. Abdul Kalam, in his memoirs, he recalls how he was so fascinated as a kid to find out how does a bird fly in the air. And he went on in life to become the rocket scientist and the father of missile technology in India, which was so instrumental in strengthening our defense security. So these are some principles which I have jotted down for the purpose of deliberation, for the purpose of discussion. As I mentioned in the previous session, the first principle of communicating values, instilling values in young people is our own personal example. And that is why parents play such an important role, because in the formative years of a child's development, they are the first gurus for the young of our society. I remember my father's friend. Once I was having his son was having a conversation with me, and he said when he turned an adult, when he reached the age of 18 years, his father said, my son, uh, now you are an adult and you have reached the age of maturity. So, one thing which you should not do is to smoke. His father himself was a chain smoker. So, this fellow was so curious, he tells me that the first thing he did after listening to his father was to go and have a smoke. He said, "What is it? Father is telling me not to do, which he himself does in such a blatant way." So the point that I'm making is that there's no better way of, if we want our children, our youngsters to behave in a particular way, then we have to reflect it in our own behavior. And we see that in the life of Bhagwan Baba. It doesn't matter whether he was speaking to a small school kid or he was interacting with the prime minister of a country. He never hesitated in setting a personal example to anybody whom he interacted with. I remember once it so happened the Italian prime minister had come to Prashanti Nilayam to have Baba's darshan, and it was he landed in Bangalore and then with a helicopter landed straight in Patti, which was against the protocol. But that was his choice. After his visit to Patti, he was going to Delhi. And it was the year 1985. It was Baba's 60th birthday. And in his private moments with Baba, he thought that it is Baba's birthday and he must give him a gift. So he made an offering of 60 gold coins. Now, Baba is not someone, who takes things. He is the one who gives us. His hands were always above giving, 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 not receiving, receiving, receiving. So in his own inevitable way, he asked the Prime Minister, have you declared it to the government? See, these people, they have diplomatic immunity. So their luggage baggage is never checked. And the Prime Minister said, and in those days, the Gold Control Act was very, very stringent, and we could not simply get gold into the country so easily. So when Baba asked him, he said, "No, Swami, I have not declared it to the government." He said, "If you have not declared it, how can I accept it from you?" So the Prime Minister, I believe, in his presence, broke down and started shedding tears. He said, "For the first time in my life, somebody is explaining like this to me." And then Baba told him, when you go to Delhi, tell the Prime Minister, Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister at that point of time. He's tell him what I have told. So with one stone, hitting two targets, that was Bhagwan Baba. So from his own, the kind of integrity he followed in his own life, and that was why he was able to win the hearts of young and old and pauper to prime ministers and heads of state. He set a personal example. So in this process of character building, I cannot emphasize that example is always better than precept. But that does not mean that precept is not required. We have to communicate. We have to tell our young what is good for them and what is not good for them, because they lack that experience of life. When they grow up, they will get their own experiences and they will learn. But from our own experience, there's so much that we can share. And Baba was very particular that, see, whatever I want you to tell, you have experienced. From your experience, you share with the students. So sometimes it may be a little repetitive because we don't know when this youngster is going to be receptive. Once we had the global head of Honeywell Technologies, he was talking to our students, and he said, see, every time my son is not really in a receptive mood, but there are some moments when he is willing to listen. And that is where, we seize the moment and we slip in, and it, hits the target. It makes an impact on their mind. So we should not lose that opportunity. I remember it was the first summer course on Indian culture and spirituality, and we were having the session in the college auditorium in our Bangalore campus, Brindavan, and Baba was giving the inaugural discourse. And there was this Professor Bhanuji Rao from Singapore University. He was also one of the speakers in the session, and he was listening to Baba's discourse, and it so happened he felt that, Baba, I have already heard this discourse. You've given this message so many times in the past. So he was an old-time devotee. Um, so the session got over and we rushed to the hostel and we were having lunch. Uh, there were two people sitting on the table. The guests were seated on the table, and there was this Professor Banuji Rao, and next to him was Mr. G.V. Subbarao, who was head of United Nations Energy Division. And Baba went and stood in between both of them, and he made this observation. He said, see, good things have to be told again and again, again and again, again and again. So we should never tire. See, Baba never tired telling us the same message, because we tend to forget. And if we as elders tend to forget, you can imagine at the younger age when the receptivity is so much less. We need to keep repeating, and therefore precept is required. We need to definitely communicate whatever things are good for our youngsters, and should not hesitate, should not be afraid. Of course, when we practice it ourselves and then tell, its impact is much, much, much more on the youngsters. Then the third principle of character molding is sense control. And this, I feel, is the essence of character. Now, many a time, this looks so formidable that, we don't know where to start. And therefore, again, Baba's message on this is very, very insightful, and it comes handy. And these are the secrets of Sathya education, because we picked it up not from any books, not by listening to any educationists. We learnt it directly from our interactions with our own beloved master. So he would say, see, among all the senses, the king of all senses is the tongue. And if you have to start with the tongue. It serves two functions. The tongue has it provides us the ability to eat food and also to communicate. So his first Maha Mantra for his students was to talk less. He didn't say that don't talk. He said talk less, and it has got so many benefits. It will save your energy. It helps you to build memory power, which is so important when, for a youngster, because he has to learn so many subjects, and then he has to reproduce it in exams. So memory power is very, very crucial. He said you will build your memory power by keeping a curb on your tongue. And then he said, see, the tongue has got, this was a message which he gave to all elders and youngsters alike. The tongue has a capacity or the ability to make four kinds of mistakes. One is over talking. Even your best friend will not tell you, oh, this person indulges in over talking. They'll see you from far and they'll try to escape because they don't want to waste time, especially when they're very busy. Then telling lies. Then carrying tales and spreading slander. And finally, criticizing, abusing others. So these are various mistakes which the tongue is prone to. And when we talk less, we will automatically sort of be away from these mistakes of the tongue. And it has got lots of spiritual benefits also. That's why sages would go to the forest and, try to isolate themselves so that there is no need for them to talk to anybody. So silence is the speech of the spiritual seeker, Baba would say. It is in the depths of silence the voice of God is heard. And that is why in our Sathya organization, you take a Bal Vikas class, we have this 2-minute silence. You take university, there also, before prayers, etc., we maintain this silence. And Baba himself insisted that in his premises, Prashantinilayam or Vrindavan or wherever, silence was the hallmark of Sai gatherings. So it's a very, very powerful, in fact, there is so much of spiritual benefits embedded in this particular, and so much of worldly benefit also. And to any extent, Baba would go to instill this particular virtue in his students. I remember one day we were having evening bhajans in our hostel in Vrindavan, Bangalore campus. And the bhajans got over and the students were all streaming out of the bhajan hall. And there was this student, he came to me, he said, "Sir, I want to talk to you." And his eyes were red. I knew he had been crying. So I didn't want him to create a scene in front of everybody. I said, "Come, we'll go to our room." So I took him to my room and then asked him what happened. And he came up with a strange narration. At that point of time, Baba was in Puttaparthi. And this incident is happening in Vrindavan. And he said today, when bhajan was going on, right in front of our hostel altar, Baba manifested himself. And to my utter shock, I found that he was crying. And in the middle of the tears that were streaming down his cheeks, he was saying, "How many times I told you, talk less, and you never listened to me." And this boy was so emotional that he also started crying. He said, "Oh, Baba is, feeling so pained by my action." So he put a proposal to me. He said, "Sir, I have pained Baba so much. Is it okay if I stop talking from now onwards?" And I thought about it. I said, "See, that is not practical. And for how long can you do it? Tomorrow, if in the class your teacher asks you some question, are you going to tell him, 'Sir, I am maintaining monum and therefore I'm not going to answer your question'? That is not feasible." So I thought about his and I gave him a suggestion. I said, "See, there are certain occasions where if you maintain silence, nobody will find fault with you." And I mentioned that, whenever you get into a gathering, like you go to the dining hall to have your food, or you go to the temple for darshan and there is a large assembly there, you come to the college, there is a prayer assembly. So at such point of times, keep a control on your tongue and do not talk. At other times, you can be your normal self. Whatever is necessary, you can keep sharing with others. So then I forgot about it after giving this advice. 1 week later, again evening bhajan, and this boy is coming out of the dining hall and he came to me. He said, "Sir, I want to talk to you." So I said, "Come, we'll go to our room." And then I took him and I said, "What happened?" He said, "Baba again came today in the bhajan hall." And he smiled and said, "I'm very happy with you." So just 1 week of practice of this one Maha Mantra, I called it a Maha Mantra of talking less, had brought him the grace of Bhagwan. So these are just instances to show that such an important value was attached to this one significant, very small, cryptic statement of Swami: talk less, work more. This was his advice to all his students. So you start with the tongue, and that will help you to control the rest of the senses. And he would say, see, there are two senses which God has himself given you shutters. One is your mouth, the other is your eyes. So use them uh, optimally, use them carefully, use them judiciously, he would say, see no evil, see what is good. Talk no evil, talk what is good. And that will help you to earn God's grace. The second important Mahamantra that he would give to his students is good company. Tell me your company, I shall tell you what you are. And he would always say, have minimum connections with others. You have some work with somebody, yes, talk to them, take help, or communicate whatever you need to. But don't go room to room, like cats and dogs and trying to socialize just for the sake of socializing. And I remember this story which was narrated by our third Vice Chancellor, late Professor Sampath. He was former director of IIT Kanpur. So I believe once a tortoise was approached by a scorpion, and the scorpion wanted to cross the river, and on his own it was not possible. So he requested, Mr. Tortoise, can you give me a ride and can you take me across the river? So Tortoise looked at the scorpion and he said, Mr. Scorpion, do you think I'm crazy? If I am taking you across the river and in the middle, if you sting me, because scorpions are known for their sting and is very painful and very poisonous. He said, if you sting me, then I will sink. And then Scorpion said, Mr. Tortoise, come on, be practical. Supposing I sting you, then I will also sink. Why should I trouble you? Why should I sting you if both of us will sink in the water? So the tortoise thought about it and he said, okay. He was a jolly fellow and wanted to help out. So he said, okay, come along. So the scorpion was piggybacking on the tortoise and they were crossing the river. And as they were in the middle of the river, the scorpion stung the tortoise and it was so painful. And, he was in the process of sinking in the water in that pain. And he said, Mr. Scorpion, where is the logic of your stinging me in the middle of the river like this? And now both of us are going to sink. And then the scorpion says, Mr. Tortoise, it is not a question of logic. It's a question of my character. This is my character. And my character is to sting, and that's what I had done. So this is a very amusing but very insightful story which I came across in the importance of maintaining good company and avoid bad company. See, especially when we are young, if elders tell, hey, that fellow is not a good fellow, and you will get spoiled in that person's company. Don't make friendship with him, don't spend time with him. And usually youngsters will say, no daddy, no miss, or no sir, I'm trying to transform the fellow. Now Swami would give this example. He said, see, supposing there is one bucket of water, and in that one bucket of water you pour one glass of milk. What will happen to the milk? The milk will acquire the value of the water. But if you have one bucket of milk and in that if you pour one tumbler of water, the water will acquire the value of the milk. So especially when we are young, we are building our character. At that point of time, it's so very, very crucial that we maintain good friends, good company. And today's company is not just in terms of friends. Company can be in the form of the books you read. It can be in the company. It can be in the form of the social media that you engage in. it can be in the form of films that you see. So all this is good company or bad company. So Baba would give this example. He said, see, if there's a sapling, initially, if you don't put a fence around the sapling, the cats, the dogs, the goats, they'll come and trample the sapling. But once the sapling is provided that initial protective fence and the sapling becomes a tree, the same goat, the same cow, the same animals will come and take rest under the shade of the tree. So when we are young, we have to protect our youngsters uh, from bad company, so that whatever little goodness is there, it does not disappear in no time. And this was something which he would time and again remind the students. So importance of satsang, and the best kind of company is the company which takes you closer to God. So that is what satsang is all about. Then we come to another principle, which is food and creation. See, we discussed the other just a few minutes ago that thought is the basis of our actions and finally our destiny. It's the basis of your character, which defines your destiny. Now, Baba would always remind us, see, thought is the subtlest form of the food you eat. The gross form goes out in excreta. The subtle form goes and becomes your muscle, the blood, the bones, etc. in the body. And the subtlest form is the thought. So if food is going to determine our thoughts, then it's so important that we manage our thoughts by managing the food intake. Now, there are three impurities in food that we partake. The first is padartha, substance. Supposing the food substances are adulterated or they have been procured by cheating somebody or by stealing from somebody, then this subtle influence enters into this food. And that is why it is so important to maintain padartha shuddhi. Then the second kind of impurity is patra, the vessel in which you are cooking the food. Supposing it is unclean, supposing it is not appropriate for the kind of cooking that is required for the food materials, then that also can have very deleterious or harmful effects. So patra shuddhi is so important. And finally, paka shuddhi, the person who is cooking the food, the kind of thoughts that they have, they determine how through the process of the food, they transmit their thoughts to the person who is eating the food. So that's why Baba would say, when you're going on the street, the Santa Pakoda is very, very attractive. The smell attracts your nose and you'd like to eat it, but it may not be hygienic. The food that your mother cooks at home is much, much more hygienic, but you don't like it because it's so easily available. Just a minute. So, in today's life, however, how do you ensure all these three kinds of purities? It's not practical. Many a time we are traveling, we have to eat in so many different places. So Baba has given us a solution. He said, chant the Brahmarpanam prayer before meals. Brahmarpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahmagnau, Brahmahutam, Brahmaiva tena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhinaha. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha Pranapan Pajamyanam Achun Chaturvidham. These are stanza from the Bhagavad Gita. He has taught our students this. So chanting of the Brahmarpanam prayer, he says, purifies the food. But he goes even beyond. He says, see, food is not merely what you take through the mouth. Food is taken through all the senses. And therefore, what you see, what you talk, what you do with your hands, what you hear with the ears, all this is very, very important, and you have to take care. Then only you have protected yourself from deleterious or harmful vibrations. And along with ahara, recreational habits, how do you spend your leisure time? That's also equally important. You should spend it in productive ways. You should spend it in ways it hones your talents and is beneficial to people around you. So all this makes a person ensure that both his ahara and vihara are conducive for appropriate character. Then Bhagwan has laid out for the students in his residential educational institutions a very hectic schedule. And he would be very particular that there should be all kinds of activities in that schedule. So the day starts with prayer, and after that, the students would go for jogging, games, sports. We would say a healthy body in a healthy mind. So, if you're not healthy, you cannot be a good role model. You cannot be of any service to others. You'll be only taking service of other people. So, in the early years when our school started in Prashantlayam, a lot of students who would join the educational institution would fall sick. So, our principal went and approached Bhagwan with this problem. He said, do something which will help to build the immunity of the students. And that is how they hit upon this idea. And the early morning jogging became an integral part of the students' daily schedule. So whether it's yoga or gymnastics or going to the gym, all these activities help to keep the body physically fit. And it's very important also because at a young age, there's so much of energy in the body of the youngster or the child. So it's very important that we give enough exercise to the body. And it's a real bane of modern schools and colleges that they do not provide adequate games facilities or sports facilities to their youngsters because the whole area is so crammed, and that is not at all conducive. And I was reading the other day Plato's ideas on education, and he also, imagine in 300 BC or so, he is talking of physical culture for the youngsters. So across Western and Eastern thought, the importance of physical culture has been emphasized. Then there should be a host of extracurricular activities. Music. See, music has a tremendous calming effect on the mind, especially if it is classical music or devotional music, bhajans, etc. And even Plato, talks about it. He's a Greek philosopher. Uh, Western civilization draws a lot of inspiration from Greek civilization. So he also talks about the harmony and rhythm that music provides, and this helps people, youngsters especially, to keep their minds calm and steady. So whether it is painting or it is dancing or various other kinds of activities, there should be a host of extracurricular activities where the students have opportunity to express their various talents, aptitudes, and can find meaning in various expressions. In fact, there is a theory propounded by one of the professors at Harvard, uh, Professor Howard, his name, and it's called the theory of multiple intelligences. So a student may not be very good in studies, but he may be good, say, in drama. He may be good in mathematics. He may be good in, say, natural talents or in tune with nature. You put him in a natural setting, you'll see the best that comes out of him. So, taking advantage of that theory of multiple intelligences, we need to create opportunities of expression for the student. Then service activities, I'll come to that a little later. Prayer, which is so integral in Sathya Sai education. And many a time Baba would be accosted. Somebody asked him once, Swami, so many students have to do so many things in their daily schedule. Where is the time? Where is rest for the students? And he said, change your work is rest. One moment you are studying, next moment you are playing in the playground, third moment you are having your food, fourth moment you are going to the temple and having, say, devotional bhajan singing. So all the time you're changing your work. So when you're changing your work, that is the rest for you. And the best example is our own heart. The moment the heart starts beating, even in the mother's womb, it starts beating. And till our last moment in life, it is beating. How can it work like that? Because with every heartbeat, the next moment it is taking rest as well. So rest is interspersed with its heartbeat. So change your work is rest is Baba's mantra. So have a hectic schedule for the students. An idle mind is a devil's workshop, he would say, and let there be variety, and that variety will ensure that students are always engaged in whatever activities. And then another very important thing is the regularity of the daily schedule. See, generally when we are young, we don't want to have a regular daily schedule. But in the Sai educational institutions, school level, university level, the schedule is fixed, and this schedule has been fixed personally by Bhagwan Baba himself. Starts 5 a.m. in the morning with prayer. Then after the prayer is over, they go to the grounds, they have their jogging and games. Then they come back, they have their bath, then they have their breakfast, they go to college or school, and then come back for lunch. Then again, they have their afternoon session. Then they go have evening games, or they go to the mandir and have their devotional kind of prayers. And then all this is part of the whole day. And then after evening dinner, they have their study hours. It's international research that anything you learn freshly, if you revise it within 24 hours, the memory recall is outstanding. So therefore, it's so important that in your daily schedule, you must have some time to revise the daily lessons. And that is what the night study hours is, after which they have their night milk, and then they have a night prayer and they go to sleep. So once Baba himself told me, I was asking him as a young teacher, Baba, give us some advice. He said, you must have a time for study, a time to play, a time to eat, and a time to sleep. Take care of these four things, everything else will fall in place. So maintenance of the regularity of schedule, in my estimate, over the decades, is a great aid in maintaining discipline, because one of the big challenges youngsters face is that their minds are very, very fickle. So this maintenance of regularity of schedule helps them to develop a little bit of mental stability. And if you look at, great prime ministers, even our current prime minister, they all get up early in the morning. And, they're able to be so active throughout the day. And a youngster should be able to have much, much more capacity to be able to, do something. Then we come to another important principle of character building, and that is management of negative thoughts. See, what is the difference between a saint and a criminal? It's not that the saint doesn't have negative thoughts, but he has mastered the technique of how to manage his negative thoughts. So that is a training which we have to provide to the youngsters. How do we do it? One is, keep yourself always busy. When you're busy, the negative thoughts will not come and assail you so easily. You'll be focused on the task at hand, and that will help you to do your best in the work which is in front of you. Then don't be alone. Keep yourself in good company, and that will also help, especially when you are assailed by negative thought. It could be triggered by anything. Go into the company of somebody who can help you to come out of that negative thoughts through counsel or whatever. In fact, Patanjali, in his seminal work Yoga Shastra, he gives this important principle of Pratipaksha Bhavana. Now, there's a little story I would like to narrate. There was this gentleman who used to be, had this habit of drinking, and he would be going in the middle of the street, and he would feel that all snakes are coming to bite him. So he used to keep a box with him always under his armpit. So one day his friend met him on the street. He said, "Hey, what is that box which you're carrying with you?" He said, "Shall I tell you something? There's a mongoose." Then this man was so surprised, his friend. He said, why are you carrying a mongoose? He said, whenever I drink, I get so many these visions of snakes. So I'm keeping this mongoose to keep all the snakes away, so that if they are afraid of the mongoose, they will not come near me. So the friend laughed. He said, "Hey, my dear, do you not realize that all those visions of the snakes which you have, they are all imaginary. There's no such snake which is going to come and bite you." And then this man said, yes, this mongoose is also imaginary. So he was carrying an imaginary mongoose to keep away the so-called frightening snakes, which were also just imagination. So Swami would say that, see, supposing you are bitten by a scorpion, feel happy that you are not bitten by a snake. Supposing you are having a shoe and you are not having some very expensive, luxurious shoe. Look at people who are not even wearing shoe. They can't afford a shoe, can't afford to have footwear. And that will give you some kind of strength, because it will give you the feeling that, oh, I'm still better off than somebody else. So this is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. Any kind of negative thought which assails you, you cultivate an opposite thought, a positive thought, which keeps that negative thought away. So we have to train our young children, our youngsters, how to manage negative thoughts. And then there will be occasions where there will be deviant behavior. And Baba would say, in this college, the medium of instruction is discipline. The first, second, and third languages are love, service, and sadhana. And he reminded us once in a talk which he was giving to teachers, he said, discipline is my subject. Just as you all give importance to all your respective subjects, I want you to give equal importance to my subject, and my subject is discipline. Of course, if your educational institution is a residential system with a dedicated band of teachers, it's a great aid in building an ecosystem of discipline. If it's a non-residential school or a college, the challenges are definitely greater, but we have to persist and we have to make our efforts, because this is something which is very, very important in the molding of young people. And the methodologies have been given in our culture. We have to first cultivate love for the children in our heart. Many a time we don't make any impact on youngsters or children is because we have very less love in our heart. So when you cultivate love, the first expression is sama, loving counsel, advice. It's our duty to advise. Dana, giving incentives. It could be just recognition. Hey, you gave a very wonderful speech the other day in college or school assembly. So giving them incentives, rewarding them for the good things that they do. And supposing you find that, two friends are very naughty, and when they come together, they become a a much more problematic combination, then you divide them. Ask the one fellow to sit on the first row, other fellow to sit somewhere far, and try to see. So that is bheda, division. In fire training, fire safety training, they said, see, what is the cause of fire? First, there is the combustible material, and then there is the ignition, the fire, and then the third thing is oxygen. So if you want to put out the fire, take these three friends and just throw them apart. So if there's no oxygen, immediately the fire will sort of come down, and it will get extinguished. So like, when somebody is on fire, we ask him to roll on the ground. So basically, what are we doing? We are cutting off the oxygen. And then danda. So firm and prompt corrective action, but with love in the heart. And this is something which we need to do. I remember when I was a young teacher once, when he was speaking on this subject, discipline is my subject, he gave an example. He says, if, for example, a student comes late to your class, what do? You just keep quiet. Okay, come in. And so the student never learns the value of punctuality. One day you send him out of the class, and the next day, not only that boy, all the students will be careful about punctuality. So it happened a few days later. I was having a first period after lunch, and a student came late. The class had already started. I asked him, why are you late? He said, sir, there's no reason. I said, you're too early for the next class. Come back, go to library and come back for the next period. That evening when I was sitting in my room, this boy comes running. He said, sir, you complained to Baba that I was late. I said, no, I didn't do it. Why should I? Whatever I had to tell you, I have told him. And then he explained how in the darshan line, when he had gone for Baba's darshan, Baba pointed out, hey, your teacher sent you out today, you were late for class. So that was a signal to me, an acknowledgement that I had followed what his instruction was, and also a signal to the student that he should not be late for class. So handling deviant behavior is very, very important. And then service and sacrifice. See, service and sacrifice are our national ideals, said Swami Vivekananda. So these have to be integrated into the daily schedule of the students. It's the easiest way to experience spiritual joy. And it's an outlet for expressing students' talents, aptitudes. It builds self-confidence in the student. It fosters teamwork and cooperation. And also, from a spiritual point of view, helps in sublimating the ego. When you're serving somebody, you have to be less egoistic. Then only you can serve. So in our education system, in the schools and colleges, university, we have what are called as self-reliance activities. So a host of activities are there which are done by the students themselves. So they may be serving food in the dining hall. They may be serving in the dispensary, helping the doctor there, dispensing the medicines what are prescribed, or they may be cooking food for sick students. They may be helping in audiovisual activities. They may be having a publishing, a lot of digital publishing work also gets done in our educational institutions. So there's the cooperative stores. So a host of activities can be designed which the students engage in for the benefit of the society, for the benefit of the community, and also for their own personality development. So you can organize special service activities on festival days, community service, go outside the campus to a nearby village or a slum, orphanage, etc. Or we used to have, for example, annual Gram Seva. So these are all activities which help to build, the spirit of nation building in the student community. And last but not the least is cultivating love for God. So the best way is through prayers, and in so many spiritual paths, this prayer just for 15-20 minutes. It's not too much throughout the day. 24 hours is there in a day. Just for 15-20 minutes, if we can spend time in communion with God, whatever be their name, you call him Allah, you call him Jesus, you call him whichever. It is a tremendous, tremendous, strength for a youngster, and it will last him for a lifetime. One day, the support of parents will be withdrawn, the support of teachers will be withdrawn, but the support of God, if he cultivates, he will, have this investment for life. So we have prayers throughout the day for food, before going to sleep, before the college starts. All this is, and I would, many years ago, I had this little message and a greeting card which read, "Life is fragile, handle it with prayer." And when I was telling the students, Baba was next to me, he said, "Repeat it." So I said, "See, nowadays, when glass objects are sent in transit, they say, glass is fragile, handle it with care." So similarly, life is fragile, handle it with prayer. So whatever be the prayer, we have a Sarva Dharma prayer. Uh, you know, when we start our college, then we have in a weekly schedule 1 or 2 hours. This starts from first year undergraduate and final year MBA, final year MTech students also have this human values class. So with the curriculum, so it can be appropriately designed where we communicate human values. Then on Thursdays, the first period is dedicated to a moral class. So on moral themes, it could be a drama, it could be a talk, it could be quiz, but with moral objectives. So these kinds of this is a platform available to communicate our value system to the student community. Then we have in our hostels a daily Parayana session just before they go to bed. They have this narration of God's stories. Then we have reading of spiritual books. So throughout the week, they read, for example, the Shirdi Sai Charitra, or like sometimes we have a Ramayana Saptaha, Bhagavatam Saptaha. Then we celebrate all kinds of festivals of all faiths, whether it is Christmas or Dasara or Janmashtami, Ganesh Chaturthi. Then we have, because it's a residential system, we have a special hostel altar competition beginning of the academic year when new students get their rooms. So there's one day where they make a altar for their own rooms so that they can pray together every day. Then a number of activities like drama, dance, card making, musical presentations, etc. And also, I would recommend parent meet. It's not enough, especially I have found it very useful even in a residential system. But even if it is a day school or day college, it's very, very important that we interact with the parents and see how the children are doing when they are away from our eyesight. So the cultivation of human values, character building is a 24/7 endeavor. And if parents and teachers get together, there's phenomenal activity that can be done on this front. So these are some of my thoughts, and Swami's vision of an ideal student. The student role model that we are cultivating is he should have the head of Shankara, the heart of Buddha, and the hands of Janaka. So the head of Shankara, a sharp intellect, and the ability to see through things, the ability to visualize the future consequences of situations, of events, of actions, and then acting in the present. That is the head of Shankara. And then Buddha, he should have a socially sensitive heart, a compassionate heart. That is what Buddha, exemplified in his life. And Janaka, living in society, but all the time efficiently operating in day-to-day affairs, but at the same time in a detached manner. So this was 1987 convocation of our university. Bhagwan gave this message. I want you to have these three HV we call it, the head of Shankara, the heart of Buddha, and the hands of Janaka. So with these few thoughts, I will now bring this what should I say, presentation to an end. And so is it okay now? We can take a few questions.
Yes, sir. Sign up, sir, please. Respected teachers, you can share if there is any query, if there any more clarification is needed, please, sir will be answering the questions. Sign up.
Sairam, you can unmute yourselves. Whoever want to ask.
Sairam, sir. Sairam, sir.
Yes, sir. Please tell.
Sir, I am Ramanmurthy from.
Rajeshwaran, sir.
Sir, I am Ramanmurthy from Vijayanagaram.
Okay. Yes, Ramanmurthy, sir. Please tell.
Actually, we are dealing with the children who are in. Actually, as we all know, they are mostly affecting by the social media or other what in spiritual we can tell the Kali Lakshanas more effectively taking place in their brains, and whatever we are practicing in our government schools, the result is
So I didn't catch your question, Ramanmurthy, sir.
Keep your mic muted. Only the person who is asking the question can be unmuted. Sir,
Ramanmurthy, sir, would you like to repeat your question? What is the question you have asked? Okay, shall we go to Rajeshwaran, sir? You wanted to ask something?
Sir, I'm nothing, sir. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. No problem.
Okay, okay. Yes, Vishwarup Haldar, sir. Vishwarup Haldar, sir, has raised his hand. Can we have you question?
Sairam, sir. Good evening. Sir, you were talking about the destiny. Swami was telling destiny does not depend on marks.
Yeah.
It depends on character, willpower, grace, and some other element you
Willpower,
were telling.
character, willpower, and grace of God.
Okay, character, willpower, and grace of God. Okay, sir. And another point I have missed, I was noting actually, as in point works, you were talking about again. Swami was telling you, take time for eat, play, sleep, and another thing.
Yeah, 4 things which he said. There should be a time to study, a time to play, a time to eat, and a time to sleep.
Okay, study, play, eat, and sleep.
Eat and sleep. So this timing should be kept. In fact, I tell our students also, after you finish your education also, because in professional life, sometimes, you may not have control over your schedule. I said, maintain the regularity. Supposing every day you have to have lunch at 2 o'clock, then you must have only at 2 o'clock. That regularity is very, very useful in maintaining mental discipline, especially for young people, very, very useful.
That is
yeah.
I said that is to make a routine, regular routine.
Yes.
To follow.
Have a regular routine and stick to that routine.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much.
That's important.
Sairam, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Sandhya Raju.
Sir, actually, we have inclusive education in our school, sir. Yes. And there is a boy in my class who's a special child, and he's very short and all that. so he needs help for carrying his bag and the lunch bag. But sometimes when there is no help, he is able to carry his own things. But still, he expects other children to help him. Is it right on my part to make the other children do, or should I make him do? That I was like, this is not a question related to the mm, thing, but still, I had a feeling that that child is special child is taking advantage of the other children. So this is
So,
my question, sir. What should I do in this situation? Should I
so,
help him or I ask the other students help him?
so the point is that, uh, who is the best person whom we can serve? He or she who is in need. So therefore, if we develop an ecosystem where a child is, able to feel the problem of the other and able to rush to the other. See, sometimes an individual may not be comfortable with the teacher. An individual may be comfortable with, say, a classmate. So helping each other and building some kind of an ecosystem is something. First, you can maybe start by demonstrating yourself. Once the students see that the teacher herself is, helping out somebody, tomorrow they will also get inspired. So, for example, our Ratan Tata ji, who just passed away, his assistant, Shantanu Naidu, he started some startup called Good Fellows. So the purpose of the Good Fellow is elderly people, they feel lonely, they want somebody to be companion with them. So the startup is to provide this kind of service to elderly people. And in foreign countries also, there are people, when you are young, you sort of volunteer to do this kind of service. And later on, when you become old, the society provides you that kind of support from young people. So that kind of, without any other kind of feeling to help each other, whoever is in need, is very important. So you can set an example yourself, and then it will be inspirational for others also.
Yes, sir. But I feel that sometimes when he is able to do his work, he is able to carry his lunch bag. He is expecting the other children.
So the point is that we need to encourage him also to do his own work. See, just because he is handicapped, I talked of self-reliance. Once we had one of the UGC committees visiting our university, and he observed these activities. He said, this is a wonderful arrangement. Otherwise, outside we find that, say there's a tube light not working in the room and it has not been attended for days together, and that itself lead to riot and protest by the student community. Here, whatever problems are there, you yourself are finding ways to sort out among yourselves with help each other. So encourage him to do it himself, and when he is not able to do, to take help. So that is a judgment which you as a teacher are best placed to. So he should be given the confidence that he can do himself so many things. I used to show to our students a video about one person, Nick Vujicic. This fellow was born without legs and hands, and today he is an international motivational speaker. And he went through so much of ups and downs, and you can imagine, if you don't have legs and hands, what kind of opposition will be there, and criticism and all that. So he went through all that, but today his life has become an inspiration for so many people. So encourage that youngster also, in spite of his handicap, to do whatever he can on his own, and not to hesitate taking help. So that's a little balancing act which you'll have to do with this kind of a child.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much, Sairam.
Sairam. Yes, this is Malas Damodaran.
Sairam sir, I am from Sathya Sai Samaji Tiruvatiur. Chennai.
Yes,
Sir, you were telling about if it is a residential system, it is great opportunity for educare also, right?
yes,
That I have seen their educare school also, which has got the A plus A1 certificate now. I was
right.
very happy to attend the campus there, the training session. But my doubt is, could you suggest any other methods or other special techniques for non-residential school like us to in building the characters of children? It would be helpful for the teachers also, right, sir?
So one of the things which I mentioned is that, involving parents also, like, we organize some kind of events in the school, and say if we have some kind of felicitation of our students. So
Everything we are doing, sir.
yeah,
Everything doing. Still, we can't get 100% that satisfaction. We have to
true. But the thing is, I do understand that in a non-residential setup, the challenges are more. But
yeah.
that's why I mentioned towards the end, there are so many institutional things in the school itself. Like
No,
I
we are
talked of
following the school. Okay.
human values class or a moral class, and presenting of skits with value-based themes. See, these kinds of activities, if we organize, it helps to keep the student focused and channelized in, because every child is not always going to be inspired, given their age, by studies alone. So providing them an expression of in different dimensions, what I talked of multiple intelligence, how we cater to that idea, that is something which we should attempt. And similarly, service activities, there are so many opportunities in our respective premises, as well as the community, that we could, if you take them just to an orphanage itself, that itself, is a very ennobling experience for a child. So something will trigger,
The child
and
is, 1 minute, sir. The child
yeah,
is able to understand everything, is very good, active, but again he goes back to the same condition at that time.
yes. So therefore, see, we are dealing with that age group, and we cannot lose heart. So that's why Mother Teresa would say, what is required is not that you have to love a lot. What is required is that you must love without getting tired. So pray in your heart for such a child, that God's grace may come, and amazing things can happen. So
Yes, sir.
it is, if we feel
Yeah,
we are alone, then we have certain limitations. But if you think that this is God's work and we are only assistants to the divine in molding, because every child who has come into the world has come with God's blessing. This is what Rabindranath Tagore said. He said every time a child is born, he brings a message from God that God is not tired of man. So he keeps giving birth to children because he still has hope in humanity. And that is why teachers, when they combine with God, this is God's work. This is not your work or my work. And when we align with God, so many things are possible.
yes, sir. We should wait for the time, right?
Yes, yes, without getting tired and without losing hope.
Really, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think Vishwarup Haldar has again raised hand.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I want to share some of my experiences. Actually, I'm an assistant district inspector of schools.
Okay.
Assistant district inspector of schools.
Yes.
School inspector, simply school inspector. So we usually go to school for inspections for various things, such as educational development and also infrastructural development. So many a times when we enter schools, I saw, this is my personal experience, I saw some teachers handling with mobiles, uh, with social medias, YouTube or something, Facebook. He is not attentive in his teaching or to give lessons to the students, and I catch them. So I want something like parenting when you do Valvikas and we do parenting. Is there any process to make them a workshop? How to make a workshop to build character for for the teachers? uh, to be moral with their job, to be moral with their profession, and what the responsibility they have to teach students. Uh, what to say? They should be responsible in their professions and be honest with their professions. How to make parenting like workshop? How to arrange a workshop for the general
So,
teachers?
yeah, so see these things, like we have done it in a general way today, it can be done physically also. And then, like if I were doing it physically, I would bring in a lot of demonstration exercises in the interactive sessions. So when you experience it yourself, it is one thing. So definitely your idea that a workshop can be organized. I remember as a student of the university in Delhi, I attended such kind of workshops, which was organized by a Satsai organization with the school teachers of Delhi Municipal MCD, Municipal Authority. So they are useful, and definitely it will have some impact on the teachers who are participating on it, and it helps to build some kind of institutional cohesiveness given your role. I think this is something you should consider and get appropriate resource personnel to assist us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sairam, sir.
Sairam, Sairam. Yes, Balaya sir, you wanted to say something? So if there are no questions, Mukundan sir, shall we close?
Once again, loving Sairam to all of you. And we request you to note down or to share all the queries in the teachers group in which you are a member. So all these queries, all these questions will be shared with Sanjay Sahni sir. And the answers given by sir will also be shared in the same group. Secondly, if you would like to have some session for the teachers, just like the school inspector or the administrative officer just told us, please inform in the group so that we would like to know which is the state and which is the place, so that we will contact the respective office bearers of that particular area, and organization can arrange parental session, teacher session. All these sessions organization is ready to arrange as suggested by Professor Sanjay Sahni sir. Now, with your permission, sir, with your permission, Professor Sanjay Sahni sir, as a teacher, thousands and thousands students were molded by sir under the direct guidance of beloved Bhagwan, and Swami has provided sir for this session. That is a great blessing for the 2 sessions we had from sir, and we express our gratitude to Bhagwan for this. And on behalf of all of you, we express our gratitude to sir for being with us. And there is a message. If you are not a member of teachers group, sir, what you can do, I will give you my telephone number, 94471 94471 66844 94471 66844. You can send, you can share your message, and appropriate action will be taken by the organization. And to continue, we are extremely happy that Sanjay Sahni sir is with us. With so much experience in molding the children, actually including 2 sons, my 2 sons also molded by sir in the Sathya University. And on behalf of all of you, we express our deep gratitude to you, sir. And we will be waiting for the next session by you, sir. At the same time, we express our gratitude to all the participants, all the teachers who have joined in the session. And once again, wish you all a very holy, happy Deepavali. And this session itself is a lighting so many lamps in the hearts of so many teachers. And this is really a Deepavali celebration starting on the eve itself, because sir has lighted so many lamps in our hearts. Let us keep this light within us to share this light with hundreds and hundreds of students. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And we will close this session. With sir permission, we will have 1 minute silent prayer to our beloved Bhagavan, and we will close the session. Sairam, thank you so much to all of you. With this, we are concluding the session and place everything at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba Ji ki Jai. Sai Ram.